Hi, boys and girls. We had a long break. The holidays got so busy for us, but this is another truncated version of our lessons. We're going to go from 4 to number 6, I believe it is. This one was on Christmas Eve, December 24th, lesson number 4. And the lesson scriptures were Luke, the first chapter, verses 36 through 45, and then number 56. The key verse was Mary stayed with Elizabeth for about 3 months and then returned home. Now, if you remember, Elizabeth was Mary's cousin, an older cousin, and it was a miracle for her to be having a child also because she was quite old. The name of this lesson is Partners in Joy. An angel told Mary, even your cousin Elizabeth will have a child in her old age. She was said to be unable to have a baby, but she is in her 6th month. Not one word from God will ever fail. Now, you remember that, boys and girls. I am the Lord's servant, Mary said. May everything that you have said to me come true. Then the angel left her. Mary then got ready and hurried to a town in Judea, where she entered Zachariah's home and greeted Elizabeth. When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the baby within her leaped, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. Oh, she knew what was going on before Mary even opened her mouth. How about that? In a loud voice, Elizabeth cried out, "You are favored among women, and your child that you will have is blessed. What an honor this is, that the mother of my Lord should come to visit me." As soon as I heard your voice, the baby inside me leaped for joy. You are blessed because you believe that the Lord will fulfill his promise. When all was said and done, Mary stayed with Elizabeth for about 3 months and then returned home. Wow, I didn't realize that she had been gone for this long. The contemporary story, Partners no matter what. Arianna and Chloe were cousins and best friends. When Chloe and her mother entered the movie theater, Arianna and Aunt Pat were already there. Chloe ran up and hugged them. "I can't wait for us to have some fun today," Arianna said to Chloe. "I've got something to share with you. You remember when we said that we would have each other's backs no matter what? And no matter what, you would be my friend?" Chloe said to Arianna. "Yes." "What's going on, Chloe?" Arianna asked, now concerned. "We are moving, and I will have to go to a new school. I'm not sure if I should be happy or sad. They keep telling me it is a great opportunity and I should be excited," Chloe explained. "It is exciting to move to a new school, but some days may be hard. When I moved, what made me happiest was having you as a friend," Arianna commented. "You are so right. No matter what, I have you as my friend, and I am glad of that." Now let's look at partners in faith, true or false. This exercise is a true and false. Elizabeth and Mary were partners in faith and joy. Each sentence below is to be read and will circle T if the statement is true and an F if the statement is false or not true. If the statement is false, write the statement on the line and make it true. 1. Elizabeth was going to have a baby at a young age. That is false because we know that Elizabeth was very old. Supposedly, in man's way, she was unable to have children. She was too old to have children. Number 2, when Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the baby leaped inside her. True or false? If you marked a T, you are correct. Number 3, Elizabeth was filled with laughter and joked about it. And that is true. Elizabeth was filled with laughter. Number 4, in a loud voice, Elizabeth said, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the child you will have." And you should circle a T for that is true. And number 5, Mary stayed with Elizabeth for about 3 months and then returned home. And that is true. Now, if you don't have a book, you should get one from your Sunday school class. And if you are stuck at home from Sunday school, or you tried too late and they're all out, be sure to visit or get your parents to visit the Sunday School Publishing Board website. You can order the books there for not too much, maybe $5, a little under $5. It's not a bad price at all. Let's see what's next. We're going to skip this. Okay, lesson number 5 for December the 31st. That was New Year's Eve. Gifts for the King. The lesson scripture was Matthew, the 2nd chapter, verses 1 through 12. The key verse is, on coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed and worshiped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. That's from Matthew, the 2nd chapter, the 11th verse. Now, here's something that I read not too long ago. We always talk about the gifts of the Magi, or we call them Magi, men from the Middle East, or we call them the 3 wise men. Do you know that there is no statement or nothing that proves or shows that there were only 3 men? And that when they visited the Christ child, he was already 2 years old and had gone home from Bethlehem. So he was back home and they went to visit him. Now for our tale. Herod was the king after Jesus was born. During this time, wise men from the east, Magi, came to Jerusalem. The Magi asked, "Where is the one who was born King of the Jews? We saw his star and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed. He didn't show it though. He was acting real all cool all about it. He called the chief priests and teachers of the law and asked them about the Messiah's birth. Then Herod called the Magi and asked them the exact time the star had appeared to them. King Herod sent the Magi to Bethlehem and said, "Go search for the child. As soon as you find him, tell me so that I may worship him." Oh, yeah, he was being sneaky. You know, he didn't intend to do that. And if you watched the video that I left from last year, then you know what he had up his sleeve and exactly what he did. After that, the Magi left, following the star until it stopped over a house. When they went into the house, they saw the child with his mother, Mary. They bowed down and worshiped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And being warned in a dream not to report back to Herod, they returned home by another route. Now, do you know what? Well, you know what gold is, but do you know what frankincense and myrrh are? Frankincense is I believe it's some kind of incense, and myrrh is sort of like, there's like a types and shadows thing, because these are things that you use to anoint the body of someone who was going to be buried back in those days. The contemporary story is driving in the dark. Oh, something I don't care to do much these days. "Luke, come on, let's go," Grandpa yelled upstairs from downstairs. It was early, and the sun had not risen yet. Grandpa wanted to get on the road early. I don't blame Grandpa. "Grandpa, why do we have to leave so early?" Luke asked, getting into the truck while rubbing his eyes. "Luke, we have a long drive up to the cabin. Also, I need to stop by your Uncle Greg's house on the way. I have some presents that I need to drop there. Then we will be off to the campground," Grandpa explained. "Grandpa, do you know where you're going?" Luke questioned. I know exactly where I'm going." "You are scared because you have never been out there in the dark," Grandpa noted. "Yes, it's too dark and I'm not comfortable," Luke replied. "It may be uncomfortable, but I can see, and I know exactly where I'm going," Grandpa commented. "Sometimes you have to get out there, get out of your comfort zone, and get to where God needs you to go. It's like the wise men. They didn't know where they were going, but they followed the star that God had provided." Today's lesson for January 6th is lesson number 6. The lesson scriptures are from Hebrews. Oh, it's close to one of my favorite scriptures again. I like Hebrews 13, 1-3. But this one's from 11, the 11th chapter, verses 1-3. Then verse 8, 23, 31-34, 39-40. The key verse is faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Now, sometimes you'll run across someone who will say, how can you believe that you can't see God? You might see what happens, what he does around us, and that kind of thing. You can explain that to people. But this is what faith is. Faith is having confidence that something exists, something will happen that you can't even see. You don't need a scientist's proof. You don't need proof from someone else. You don't need proof from another book or anything. The name of the lesson is Believing Without Seeing. Faith is confidence and trust in that which we hope. It is also assurance and proof that we will receive what we can't see. By faith, we understand that God's command created the universe by something invisible. Faith is why the ancestors were praised. When Abraham was called to go to a place he did not know to receive God's promise, he obeyed. Moses' parents had faith when they hid him for 3 months after he was born. They were not afraid of the king's order. Rahab had faith when she welcomed the spies. There needs to be more time to discuss Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, David, Samuel, or other prophets. They had faith to conquer kingdoms, rule with fairness, and receive God's promises. They shut the mouths of lions, survived flames of fire, and escaped swords. Their weakness turned into strength. They became powerful and defeated enemies. These people received God's approval, but none received all that God had promised because God had better things in mind for us that would also benefit them. Let's see about the contemporary story. It's called Believe It to Achieve It. Zach noticed that Dad went to his workshop every evening to work on a project. One evening, he saw Dad working and went to see what he was doing. Hey, Dad, what are you working on? Zach asked. It's your mother's idea. I'm drawing some furniture that Mom wants me to build. She didn't give me much to work with. She just told me what she needs, Dad said, showing Zach the pictures. But, Dad, how can you draw it with just Mom's describing what she needs? Don't you need to see it to draw it? How do you know she will like it? How do you know that it will work? Jack inquired. Mom has faith that I can make the necessary decisions on how to make it. It means she trusts that I will fulfill my promise to make what she needs, Dad replied. Wow, Mom has a lot of faith. I would want to see it, Zach noted. That's why we must understand that faith is believing without seeing, Dad explained. So, boys and girls, that is today's lesson for the last few weeks. And as you can hear from my voice, you can probably hear from my voice, I have a slight cold, but I would love to hear from you and hear from what you have to say on all of today's lessons and next week's lessons. And remember, the address for getting books, if you can't get one from church, are in the credits at the end. Tell your parents about that. And while you're at it, subscribe to this YouTube channel so that every lesson will come to your box in its time. Emoji, it's time for you and me to go. Bye-bye until next time, boys and girls. Thank you.